We are back again, about ready to do another session. Got my notebook, got everything ready. Phone just screwed up, but we're gonna sit down at PLO most likely, so we'll record there if possible. Otherwise, we will be getting a 1-3 or 1-2, and we might start at those anyway. Maybe there's no PLO, just depends. But we'll try and get some action for you guys. Let's get into it. It's 1-2. We are in seat 9 with $200. 11 minutes after we sit down, we get our first noteworthy hand. We just moved to seat 8, and we are in the big blind, and we look down at pocket aces. We have 3 limpers before we raise it up to 15. Only the hijack calls. The flop comes 2-2-5, and I make my standard check over to the hijack, expecting him to take a stab. He does indeed stab for $30. I can either raise here or call. Effective stack is only 165, so I decide to just call. I'm either way ahead or way behind at this point. The turn is the 6 of clubs, and I check expecting him to bet again, but this time he checks back. The river is now the 9 of clubs. So what is his range? He doesn't have a 2. He would have kept betting that. If he had an overpair, he'd likely keep betting that as well. So he probably had a 5, 3-3, 4-4, or just 2 overcards and was taking a stab. There is a possibility he also has 6-6 through 8-8 and is just plain scared. I decided to make a big bet to make it look like I'm trying to buy it. I bet 120, and unfortunately, he folds. I get moved to the 1-3 table and sit in seat 9. I've slowly dropped chips and add on 100 more. The first hand we play, I'm in the hijack with ace 10. The low jack makes it 20 to go, and I call. The flop is then 7, queen, queen, and it checks through. The turn is the king, and now the low jack bets out 20. So what is his range? If he had aces or kings, he would have bet the flop. If he had a flush draw, he would have continued as well. That leaves ace king, ace jack, ace 10 with a spade, 8s to 10s, or air. I've got the flush draw here, and his range is quite weak. He still has hands that beat me that will fold to a bet. If I just call and a spade comes on the river, he'll check fold. If an ace comes, I won't know where I'm at. Same thing with a 10. Since his range is so weak here, and he still has equity against me, I elect to just jam here with my short stack. If I'm behind, I have outs unless he has exactly queen queen. He doesn't have king king or king queen or queen 7. He thinks for a long time and eventually calls. The river is not a spade, and he flips over ace queen. He slow played trips on the flop with a flush draw on board. I take note of this for future reference, as this is not normal play in this player pool. I add on another $300. 20 minutes later, and we have 7-5 suited in early position. We limp along, and it limps around. The big blind makes it 11. I call, and the small blind calls. It comes 3, 4, 6 with 2 spades. The small blind leads out for 20. Big blind calls, and I call with the nuts. You might be wondering why I didn't raise here. The main reason is I don't want them to fold yet. Because if my straight flush comes in, I will get 2 extra bonuses. One for a straight flush and one for the high hand. That's over $800 in extra money. The turn is the 9 of clubs, and the small blind bets out 25. Big blind calls again. So what are the ranges? At this point, they both must have hands they like. The small blind could have 7s through 10s, flush draw, a straight with 5-2, a set, 2 pair, or combo draw. The big blind could have a similar range. I decided it's time to raise it up. At this point, they have hands that will call a raise and hands that have significant equity. I make it 75 to go, trying to size the pot so that they can call with weaker hands on a river jam. The small blind folds, and the big blind actually makes the call. The river is the king of clubs, and we jam $241 into the $250 pot. Big blind calls, and we win a nice big pot. We've moved to seat 8. 20 minutes have passed, and we've bet out a few hands, and everyone has been folding. We get queen, queen on the button. There are 2 limpers, and I raise it to 15. Under the gun calls. He has about $700 in his stack. The flop comes 6, queen, king. I check back the flop. The reason I checked here is the same reason as the straight flush draw. The high hand is $500, and if I bet he folds, I win a small pot. If I check and hit, I win at least $500. If not, he thinks his hand is good and might bet out or call another bet. The turn is a 3, and he checks. I bet out 40. I make this small bet to keep his weak hands in and allow him to raise it. He doesn't fold, but he doesn't raise either. He calls the 40. The river is now a 7, but interestingly, he donks out for $125. This has me completely confused. He limp called under the gun. He doesn't have aces or kings. He would have raised those after my raise. He might have a smaller set. Maybe he has king, queen, but not a single one of these hands even makes sense. I can't make heads or tail of it, so I decide to just jam it all in and see what he does. I think I have the winner. Maybe he'll call, as this hand has played out so weirdly. He does make the call very quickly. I'm still unsure about what he could have, but he flips over 5, 6, and I flip over the set of queens. I win a huge pot. This guy is a reg, but this was the first time I had played with him. So I take note of the fact that he limp called under the gun with offsuit gappers. This could have gone the other way. This is why we make big bets. You won't win them all, but if you win more than you lose, you're going to make a lot of money, and sometimes they're going to fold the best hand. We've been getting a lot of premiums that we've either had to fold or everyone else has folded when we opened, and now we have pocket 10s under the gun, and I open for 15. The button makes the call, and then the small blind raises to 45. The big blind folds, I call, and the button calls behind. At this point, I'm putting the button on a capped range, no aces, kings, or queens, probably not ace, king. The small blind is weighted more to the top. The flop comes ace, ace, 6. Small blind continues for 45, and I think about it for quite a while. I decide to call because the bet is so small. Depending on what he does on the turn card, I may be able to take this away from him. Unfortunately, the button calls behind, and he could easily be slow playing an ace. Now the turn is an 8, still not helping me. The small blind now bets out 125, significantly higher than the flop and pre-flop bets. With the button still to act behind, there isn't much I can do anymore except fold. The button instantly folds behind, and this is why position is so important and why heads-up pots are preferred. A half hour later, we are in the cutoff with ace-king. There are 2 limpers, and I make it 15 to go. The big blind calls, and then early position raises it to 100. I elect to just call to see a flop. The big blind folds, and the flop comes 6, 3, king. He checks it over to me, and I decide to just put him all in, so I overbet his stack, effectively jamming for his last 280. I have a lot of time playing this reg. He doesn't have aces or kings here. He also doesn't have a set of 3s or 6s. He could have ace-king, queens through 9s, and those hands are not likely to fold, as this bet looks like I'm just trying to buy an already large pot. But if I can get ace-king to fold out, that would be a good result. He considers his options for almost 2 minutes before finally putting in the call. The turn and the river are the 3 and 6. He starts complaining about the hand, and I hold to take it down. We are in the button, holding 10-9 of spades. There are 2 limpers, and I raise to 15. The small blind, under the gun, and early position all call. The flop is ace, queen, 9. Under the gun, now donks for 25. This is not the same guy from earlier, but a new, younger player. I call, and the turn comes a 7. He bets out 40, and I call again. The river comes another 7. He bets out 55, messily, meaning he just kind of threw them all over the place. And the only thing going through my head when he did that was that he wanted me to fold. It was a small bet, so I call, and he announces that he has nothing and my pair of nines are good. Some people do appear to be playing a little different towards me while I'm filming. I'm trying to get a color up in the big blind when I look down at ace king. The button has straddled a 6 and the small blind has called. I call and middle position calls as well. I should be raising here, but this straddler almost always raises, so I gave him a chance to do so. He checks his option. The flop comes queen 10-4, giving us a gut shot and 2 overs and a tiny bit of showdown value. Now the small blind wants to bet. He tosses in 20 and I call, and the middle position calls as well. The turn is a 9 and he now bets 45 into the 104, and I call again, planning on stealing this away from him with position. The river is another 10, not a bad card to bluff at after he's been betting and I have been calling. He now checks it over. This is likely a weak made hand or misdraw at this point. The pot is about 195 and I just have ace high. That might be good versus his missed draws, but he might also have a small pair to go with those draws. What I do know is that his hand appears to be weak, but not necessarily something I can beat. If he had a weak queen or 9s through 7s, what would I bet with a 10 to get him to call? Taking into account that he checked because he doesn't like the 10 on the river. Maybe 100, 150. Usually these guys will bet, and then check the river because they're planning on calling. So I size up to 240, expecting to get a fold a lot of the time. He thinks about it for quite a while. Sure. He shows the queen and I show him the bluff. He's not too happy about it and says that now that he knows I'm capable of bluffing, he's going to pay me off. I've since played with him and he has indeed paid me off. I've got 8-6 of clubs in middle position and limp along. The low jack on my left makes it 10 and we go 7 ways to the flop. 5, 7, 9. We flop the nuts on a rainbow board and the small blind donks out for 11. I call and we go 5 ways to the turn. The turn is the 8 of hearts. It's not a good card as it completes the gut shot to a better straight, but there are still many other hands out there. The small blind thinks a long time before betting out 60. I decide to stay hidden and just call the 60 for now, waiting to see what everyone else wants to do. They all fold and we go to the river heads up with position. The river is the king of hearts. Completely safe card. He now bets out 100. He could have a better straight. He could have the same straight. He could have a worse straight. I take the safe route and just call the 100 and get told the bad news. That 8 on the board actually did help him as he had 6-4, but we chopped the pot. Our final hand of the night, we are in the button with 5-6 of diamonds. I raise the limpers to 15 and get 5 callers. The flop comes queen jack 7. It checks around. The turn is a 3 of hearts and the low jack donks out for 15. The hijack calls, I call, small blind calls, and under the gun calls. The river is the 4 of diamonds. The hijack now bets out 50 and I raise it up to 300. Unfortunately, this time they all fold and it's time to head home. That's all for today. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos. Drop a comment with suggestions or thoughts, and good luck on the tables.